So let's touch on the performance of Rails. So, for example, I guess a few years ago, I'm thinking maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Rails had a bit of a reputation for being not well suited to high traffic transactional sites or applications.
Mm-hmm.
But that's changed a fair bit now, hasn't it? Because we know a lot more about scaling horizontally, not just throwing more grunt at a box.
That's right. I mean, scalability isn't a problem unique to Rails. Every application needs to be architected well for it to scale. And there has been improvements to the Rails stack, particularly around Active Record recently, that's made it much more performant with its ORM queries that get it run. But Rails can scale to the point where your contention is going to be around a database, which most applications will suffer the same problem. But yeah, Amazon has certainly taught us a lot around design for failure, and that actually applies really well when you're deploying Rails applications. Designing for the fact that at any time you could lose an instance, so you need to recover from it, kind of makes your application scale anyway by just deploying more nodes.
So is there anything in your experience that you wouldn't use a Rails stack for?
I'd probably use Rails for every new project I worked on if possible. I think particularly around the web space, but now we're seeing Rails as a really good service. It provides data to presentation tiers and mobile. So Rails has many uses, particularly in mobile and with the likes of frameworks from Backbone, which make it very versatile for most applications.
And one of the things I've always liked about Rails is how easy it is to come up with a nice clean REST API service layer. And I think the interesting thing about some of the recent stuff we've been doing with Backbone is that it really taps into that. Is that?
Yeah, we've had a lot of success with Backbone recently. It's that nice separation of concerns. It's a really good framework for the presentation tier. It allows you to write much nicer modular JavaScript, easier to test, and just results in a cleaner, more elegant solution.
So I think what we've been finding is that it gives you a lot more productivity with a Rails backend than, say, jQuery on the front end. Is that?
Yeah, particularly for richer web applications with Ajax, and it provides a much better user experience when written in Backbone. Models automatically update. It just results in much cleaner, more maintainable code.
So Steve, you've come from a Java background and into Rails, and I know one of the things that you've talked about is the benefits in terms of code size and understandability of Rails versus the Java world. And one of the things you found, I think, wasn't it, that less code means concentrating on the business problem rather than the glue in the Java world, which has benefits when people are reading code that they're not used to, perhaps?
Absolutely. So looking at a Java project, as I've done recently, there is much more code to read. It's much harder to get to the heart of the problem when looking at Java code. I found myself just looking at reams and reams of code that looked like it was
XML.
An XML that was designed for a computer to read, not necessarily a human to read. So looking at comparing it to Rails, where it's much more terse, much more descriptive over the main problem that we're providing a solution to. Notice a big difference there. Less code to test, more readable. So there are some of the benefits of working in Ruby and Rails.
I guess there's that mental shift too, isn't there? So when you're looking at Rails code, say a model, you're focusing on what's the business objective of this model, whereas when you're looking at, say, a Spring configuration in a Java app, your mind's filtering between, okay, that's business, that's glue, that's business, that's glue. So you're sort of trying to think on two different levels at the same time, aren't you?
That's right, yeah. There seems to be a lot more noise in models that are around JPA. There's more annotations to look at and just more boilerplate that Java mandates. So Rails, you lose a lot of that. So you see really the domain logic much clearer. And that's nice. I can understand the app much quicker, especially for new people looking at code.
So you're only thinking on one level, the solution level. You've got less code to write and debug, and there's less code to test.
Yeah.